All right, so we got it all sprayed. How's it going today? As you can see, I got the engine bay all painted, and let's talk about the results I got with a rattle can job. Real quick, I've been doing auto body for about 15 years. I've done a lot of restorations. I paint every day right now, and I wanted to put myself into shoes of people that don't have all the equipment to possibly own a spray gun, own air compressor, own a shop where they can have the car down for a long time. Lots of people have different ways of working on their car, and I wanted to go a quick, cheap, easier route with rattle can in it. And I've never really done it this way because I have all the equipment to do it the correct way, or to do it the way of like a professional would, or as I do it every day at work. Now, and using a real gun and stuff like that. But let's talk about what I did to do this. Now, the car was in really good shape, and I didn't really have to fix. I didn't have to fix any rust besides this spot right here on the firewall. Everything else I left. Now, I got lucky, but I was able to do this in a timely manner. It took me about a week to scuff this all, coming out here for an hour a day. That's my motto. An hour a day goes a long way. So after I had this all scuffed, I sanded it with 320 on a DA, 320 grit on a DA, sanded everything, and then I came back with a red Scotch-Brite. Like this, I came with a red Scotch-Brite and sanded it all. And then it's basically ready for paint. So then I cleaned it with a degreaser and a glass cleaner and masked it up and painted it. I'm going to go over the steps that I took if you continue to watch this video. But overall, I am very happy with the paint with these products. Now, when you sand this stuff and you get some bare metal, what do you do with the bare metal? Technically, you've got to be careful with products you use to go over that bare metal. The SEM makes this easy coat paint, and it says direct to bare metal. Now, it's not going to be like an epoxy or a self-etch. It's not going to really have an adequate holdout like an epoxy will, because that's the best that you can put on bare metal. But it says it can. So I put one coat down over the whole entire engine bay and anything that had bare metal, but I just put it down over everything. And then I let that sit for about a half an hour, and then I came back with 2 coats of this spray max. Now, the reason why I did that is because I wanted the satin chassis black look, okay? This has a little more of a semi-gloss look to it, and I didn't want it that shiny. I wanted the satin look. Now this is a little dusty and dirty right now, even though it's finished product, but just from sanding some other parts, it's got some dust accumulated on it. But we'll be able to just take a glass cleaner and wipe it up. Now, the drawbacks of using a 1K product like a rattle can like this is you're going to have to be careful with what drips on it. Like, not so much engine oil, but gasoline, brake fluid. Well, brake fluid is nasty stuff, even you get on the outside of car paint anyways, regular automotive paint. You know, this is just a 1K, so if you take lacquer thinner to it and wipe it off, it is going to wipe off on a rag. But it is about a half or a third of a cost than using real products like an epoxy and a chassis black that would be catalyzed, as you would spray out of a regular spray gun. But the positives to stuff like this, even though I masked the whole entire car, I bagged the whole car and masked everything up pretty nice, I didn't mask the car 100% underneath. Now, if we were to do that with a regular spray gun, you're spraying these spray guns at about 25 to 30 psi, so you're going to have a lot more haze in the air, you're going to have a lot more pressure going underneath the car that could potentially get up into the nooks and crannies and come out in between the gaps of the car and potentially get overspray on the outside of the car. With this rattle can, there's not much air pressure, so you're not going to have to worry as much as getting the overspray all over the car. And it is quicker too. You know, this stuff flashes off quicker in a sense, and you can unmask it and get the job done a little bit quicker than using something catalyzed that takes a little bit longer to cure out and stuff like that. A lot less cleanup mess. You don't have to clean up your guns. This just is a rattle can. That's another positive to a rattle can, and it is a little bit cheaper. So each can, this easy can is about $20 a can. I use 2 cans for all my engine bay stuff, and then I used 3 cans of this. This was like $14. I used 4 cans of that to do or 3 to 4 cans you're going to need to do your engine bay if you go that route, the same route that I did. But overall, I couldn't be happier with what this is. Now, this isn't a complete restoration car. This isn't a high dollar car. This isn't going to be a showstopper like that. This is just a driver. We're going to get on the road in a timely manner and going to do it on a little bit of the cheaper side, but make good results that are going to last. And because if I was to take all the time to really make this thing 100%, to use real paint and real epoxy and a catalyzed chassis black, I would really take the time to sand this all perfect, to make everything, make all these welds look really nice, and that could take hours and hours and hours of just prep time that may not be necessary, like, you know, that I'm going to be happy with these results. And people at the car shows that we're going to pop the hood at the car show and they're going to see an LS swap. They're not going to really, they're just going to see that it's nice and not wonder, you know, oh, look, he took that extra time to do this or that. They're not going to look at it like that. They're just going to look at the car, it's going to be nice, and they're going to go on to the next car. And I don't really care what other people think anyways. I'm just showing you on what can be achieved in a timely manner for about $80 worth of paint and some maskings, and get the car and the job done. So, well, here, come along. Here we go. We got all the car masked up, and we're getting ready to paint this engine bay. Now, I'm going to take the bag plastic, ran it over it. Now, this stuff unfolds like this. You can wrap it around the whole entire car. Now I back taped everything so the paper or the plastic will stick to it in certain spots on how I masked it. And sometimes you gotta get a little creative on how you mask this thing. I've been doing this a long time, so I can visually see how to mask things. But just take your time when you do this, and it helps to have a helper to bag the cars and mask things up. We got Dad here with us today, so, and now we're going to take a razor blade and cut it all out, and then tape it down to there, and we'll be ready to paint this. Alright, so now that we do have it all masked up, we're ready to paint, but before we paint, we have to degrease it. So, this is just a wax and grease remover for an auto body type setting. So, this particular stuff is a UTEC, I can't remember the exact name, but any wax and grease remover that would be for auto body would be great. So, the idea is to spray this on, wipe it with a clean cloth, and then take another clean cloth and wipe it until it's dry. Spray the product on, the wax and grease remover. Here, hold that, Dad, since you're right there. Wipe it, and then come back with another clean dryer cloth. Wipe this until it starts to dry. You can see how it's starting to evaporate off of there. Now, I have wiped and wiped and wiped this stuff a lot, so it's really not even dirty anymore, just because I've cleaned it like 4 or 5 times. So, this is just the final wipe before we paint. Sometimes just putting it on the rag and doing all of the frame rail stuff is a better way to do this as well, because sometimes that stuff, since we don't have a lot of air movement in here, if we soak this too much with wax and grease remover, it might not evaporate out fast enough, and then it'll be wet when we go to paint. So, like I said though, I have went over this a bunch of times already, so it's not really that dirty anymore. Now we're going to take a tack rake, tack it all off. Alright, so we let this sit for about 15 minutes, and it's nice and dry. We're going to come back over and put 2 coats of the Spray Max Trim Black paint on it. Alright, so we got it all sprayed. I got 2 coats of the Spray Max on. But overall, it's done. And it only took me about a week to do this. By the time I scuffed everything up, degreased it, used a glass cleaner to clean everything, and it's done. So now we can get this motor in shortly. And I do got to build the transmission and do some stuff with the transmission. But overall, I mean, otherwise, I'd still be sitting here sanding this thing and trying to make all these welds look pretty and trying to get all the chassis really nice, and probably would have took a lot more apart. So these are my results. So I still got to do the core support, but I'm going to do that last because that's going to be one of the last things to go in until the motor's in anyways. So we're going to get this heater core put back together. I'm going to do a YouTube video on that. On how to put this together and what all needs to be installed for that, and that's going to be one of the next videos because this thing can go in. I got the firewall insulation pad, and so yeah. So to conclude this video, I just wanted to say that even though I have all of these tools and I have a compressor and I have everything to do this job the way that I would do this if someone was going to come to me and have this professionally done, this turned out just fine the way that with this rattle can. And I'm trying to put myself into audience's shoes that may be on the verge of trying it themselves, buying the equipment, and or just having someone do this. And if for instance, if you were going to take this to me and you wanted me to paint this with real epoxy and real chassis black, I would say it's going to take at least 20 hours minimum. At $60 an hour, I mean, by the time you get done, $1,500 minimum for me to even attempt to. That's with the motor pulled and everything like that, to take some of the stuff apart and to clean this all up. No major rust holes, and but each car is different, so I can only just kind of give you an idea on how many hours it would take to do this if you were going to have someone to pay for someone to do this for you. But if you want to try to do this yourselves, they sell stuff at Harbor Freight, a really good paint gun, that Black Widow paint gun, and you can do all that at home with great results if you've never sprayed before. Drop any comments, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm here. I want to learn. You guys want to learn, and we can learn together. And I'm learning doing it this way. And I hope this video helped. If you could, like it, subscribe. Feel free to ask some questions. I'd love to help. So thanks for watching, and tune in for the next one.